Farewell, Dhamma Brother, by Prakash and Goenka. Words of Dhamma. When faced with life's vicissitudes, one's mind is unshaken, free from sorrow, impurity, or fear. This is the highest welfare. Kudakapata 5-12 Mangala Sutta. How extraordinary! Speaking in his customary soft voice, Dr. Om Prakash repeated, "It is really extraordinary. I have seen so many people die, but never like this." He was referring to my aunt and adoptive mother, Rami Devi. Truly, her illness and death were extraordinary. At the age of 75, about 15 days before she died, she was chatting with Ilachi Devi, Mataji, and happened to remark that for several months she had felt constant pain in her abdomen. She was able to endure it and remain equanimous, but she mentioned the fact in passing. At once I called our doctor and my close friend, Dr. Om Prakash, who had become an inseparable part of the family. He examined my mother and then, taking me aside, he said, "It might be cancer of the liver. The signs all clearly point toward this diagnosis. Except for one fact, in such a case, the pain is intolerable and the distressed patient keeps crying and weeping. No person could suffer from the pain of this cancer for months and not so much as mention it to anyone. Even now your mother is so peaceful, I shall have to investigate further." 2 days later, Dr. Om Prakash came with Colonel Min Sang, a well-known doctor in Rangoon. After examining mother, the colonel said much of the same thing. All the signs suggest an advanced stage of cancer, but the patient is so peaceful, so free of distress. It is difficult to accept that she is suffering from cancer. We shall have to carry out further tests before making a diagnosis. After they left, Ilachi Devi asked mother, "What is the pain like that you feel?" The reply astonished everyone. Mother said, "It is much more severe than the excruciating pains of childbirth. But what is the use of crying? I observe the pain with equanimity. After all, isn't this what Guruji, Sayaji Ubakin taught us to do?" Mother was an outstanding Vipassana meditator. At the meditation center of my revered teacher, only one 10-day course was held each month, starting on the first Friday of that month. Ever since she has started walking the path of Vipassana 6 or 7 years before, there had not been a single course in which mother had not taken part. Just recently, she had completed a special 30-day course. Her equanimity had become so established that there was no possibility of her giving way to lamentation. After many tests, both doctors concluded that it was definitely cancer and that it had already advanced to the terminal stage. They believed that mother only had a few days left. Any kind of treatment would be useless and would only increase the suffering. Nevertheless, they continued with palliative care. At 3 a.m. on her last night, mother told the nurse that the time of her death was approaching, and she asked for her children to be called. We all went to her room. I immediately telephoned Dr. Om Prakash. He had not yet gone to bed. Just 2 hours before, he had been called out to see another patient who was dying. Even so, he came at once. I also called Sajaji, and fortunately he too came with Mother Sayama. Dr. Om Prakash checked and could not find a pulse. Mother had only a few minutes left. Shortly before her death, she said, "I want to sit up." Dr. Om Prakash advised against it, saying it would be better for her to keep lying down. The pain will worsen if she sits up. But mother insisted, and, understanding this as her last wish, I supported her so that she could do as she wished. To our astonishment, she made the effort to sit up cross-legged and started meditating. Truly, this was remarkable Dhamma strength. A few minutes before, her pulse had been undetectable, and now she was sitting cross-legged and meditating. To reinforce her resolve in meditation, I said, Dhamma, Anaisa, Anaisa, Aunt, Mother, Anicca, Anicca, pronouncing the word as they do in Burmese. She lifted her right hand and, touching the top of her head, said, Yes, son, Anaisa, Anaisa. Then she lowered her hand. She looked at me. She looked at Dr. Om Prakash. She looked at Sajaji and Mother Sayama. And then she looked upward and breathed her last. The sight of such a death had astonished Dr. Om Prakash. It was about 4:20 a.m. Mother's body had been removed from the bed and placed on the floor in accordance with Indian custom. We would have to wait for elders to arrive before the funeral could take place. Relatives living in Rangoon and other members of the community would arrive at 8:30 a.m. In the evening hours, all of us, including Dr. Om Prakash, remained in a sitting room nearby. We kept talking of this unusual death. Finally, the hour of 8:30 a.m. approached, and when we would proceed to the cremation ground. Before the body was placed on the bier, it would have to be bathed and dressed in new clothes. Ilachi Devi went to Mother's bedroom to perform this task, but she returned immediately and startled us all by saying that Mother was still alive. Dr. Om Prakash said, How can this be? Ilachi Devi explained that Mother's body was still soft and warm, unlike a dead body. We all went to Mother's room with Dr. Om Prakash. He examined the corpse carefully and said that though Mother was certainly not alive, it was true that the whole body was still warm. Her face was exceptionally tranquil and illuminated by some divine radiance. It seemed as if she was in deep sleep. And this was the moment when Dr. Om Prakash remarked, How extraordinary. There was no doubt that she was dead, but what marvel was this? I was at a loss for words. We performed the funeral ceremony and returned home. Everyone in the family was a Vipassana meditator, and so no one cried. I meditated most of the time to maintain a Dhamma atmosphere. By early evening, all the Vipassana meditators in the city had assembled for a 1-hour group sitting. Sajaji and Mother Sajama were also present. After the hour, other members of the community who were not Vipassana meditators came, and with Sayaji's permission, I gave a 1-hour Dhamma discourse. Immediately afterwards, Dr. Om Prakash came to me and said that he wished to sit a course. Tell me, when's the next course will be held? He requested. It was scheduled to be held after about 15 days. I assured him that I would inform him well in advance. The next day, again, there was a Dhamma discourse in the evening. Again, at the end, Dr. Om Prakash came to me and said, The next course will not be held for many days. I wish to sit as soon as possible. Sayaji was standing nearby. Seeing the strong Dhamma impulse that had arisen in Dr. Om Prakash, he agreed to hold a course immediately. We were astonished that Sajaji would conduct a course with just one person. But he directed me to come to the meditation center on the following day with Dr. Om Prakash. The next day, Dr. Om Prakash came to the meditation center himself. I also arrived there on time, and 2 other people joined the course. After giving the Anapana, I returned home and Sajaji went to his office. As usual, he returned to the center in the evening, later came to my home for the group sitting. Meditation. On completion of the Dhamma discourse, Sajaji told me that Dr. Om Prakash was making excellent progress. I was very pleased to hear this. The next morning, I received a summons from Sajaji. Your friend is endowed with abundant parami. After only 1 day of Anapana, he is for ready Vipassana. Come immediately. He must be given Vipassana now. I went to the center for the giving of Vipassana to Dr. Om Prakash and once more returned home. Sayaji came again for the evening meditation and discourse. He was very happy, saying that after only 1 day of Vipassana, Dr. Om Prakash had attained the state of Bhanga and was now working at a very deep level. The next morning he called me again and said, Come at once. The progress of your friend is extraordinary. It seems that he has abundant parami of many lives. He has reached close to the state of Nibbana. He will have to be given the necessary instructions now. Overwhelmed with this great joy and wonder, I went to the center and took my seat near Sayagyi. Dr. Om Prakash was given the requisite instruction. There was no limit to my happiness when he immediately experienced Nibbana, the state transcending the senses. Sayagyi was also happy. He examined him closely and found that all the signs indicated this was the state of Nibbana. What limit could there be to my happiness? My dear friend had entered the stream of liberation, had become a Sotapanna, an Arya, a noble person. My first contact with Dr. Om Prakash was at a public meeting in Rangoon after the Second World War in 1947. We were immediately drawn to each other. Fortunately, the friends whom I met socially were good people, and I had an affectionate relationship with all of them. But of them all, Dr. Om Prakash was closest to me. We used to work together in various fields. In the post-war period, we established our Burmese Hindi Literature Society, and branches opened in many places throughout the country. A symposium on Hindi literature was organized every week in Rangoon. Hindi colleges were established for the society's primary, secondary, and post-secondary levels of study, and many students took part. Work was also done on exchanges between Burmese and Hindi literature. Hindi textbooks were written and published. The Indo-Burmese Cultural Center was established, and through it, many cultural programs were organized. Together, both of us set up an orphanage and took responsibility for its management. Thus, after working together in several public service activities, now we had an opportunity to dedicate ourselves in the field of Vipassana. Dr. Om Prakash had also treated me for my migraine headaches. When other medication proved ineffective, he started giving me morphine injections. But he himself worried that I might become addicted to morphine, and so he urged me to go abroad for treatment. Even if you do not find a cure for your migraines, he said, you will at least free yourself from dependence on morphine. You will certainly find some other effective painkiller abroad. Heeding to his suggestion, I traveled to many countries for treatment, but in the end I returned disappointed. Dr. Om Prakash shared my concern. Subsequently, when I joined a Vipassana course and became free from my disease, he shared my happiness. But when I started taking repeated courses, meditating daily and attending group meditations every Sunday at the center, he became worried that I might become a Buddhist, an atheist. He often tried lovingly to dissuade me. I would explain to him, with the deep influence of the Arya Samja, a Hindu reform movement, I cannot be trapped in any blind belief. I have examined the teaching of the Buddha very objectively on the basis of experiential truth, and I found it to be completely faultless. For centuries, erroneous conditionings had led the people of India to shun the stainless teaching of the Buddha. I myself was a victim of this false propaganda, but now I have found by experience that there is no trace of blemish in this teaching. I am amazed that this pure, invaluable technique of India became lost in the country of its origin. I do not know what effects my words had on him, but after my mother's death, his immense power in me were awakened, and he became eternally dedicated to this technique. I came to India in 1969 and Vipassana courses started to be held there. But Dr. Om Prakash stayed in Myanmar for some years longer. Even after he passed through some extremely painful experiences, his mind was not tinged with bitterness. He did not even report the misconduct of certain officials to the president of the country, who had been his classmate in college. His mind continued to be full of metta and equanimity. Vipassana was his bulwark. Even before, his nature had been calm and stable. Now, Vipassana made it even more so. After some years, he came to India and became engaged in Vipassana activities. He had been one of the leading doctors in Myanmar, but because of his generous nature, he used to practice medicine in the spirit of service. He did not charge any fixed fees. He gladly accepted whatever payment the patient offered after regaining health. He took nothing from any poor patients. Instead, to some he used to give free medicines. This was his natural disposition. After coming to India, whenever he was in Delhi, he regularly served hours a day at the Arya Sama Free Clinic. The rest of the time he devoted to the service of Vipassana. Even at the age of 87, he traveled to different places and conducted courses with unflagging enthusiasm, outdoing those much younger than himself. He also went abroad on several occasions. Recently, he again visited America to conduct numerous courses. His itinerary brought him to Los Angeles, with the next stop to be Kansas City, followed by courses at Dhamma Kuncha near Seattle and Dhamma Siri near Dallas. While in Los Angeles, however, he suffered a stroke. When brought to the hospital, he explained his condition to the attending doctors with complete lucidity. While doing so, he entered a coma. He was in this state in intensive care for some days. During this time, I myself was on a Dhamma tour of Southeast Asia. When I reached Singapore, I received the news of his illness. I telephoned and gave him metta, but his son-in-law, Dr. Soni, who was then with him, said that there was no physical sign by which it could be said that the metta was effective. He said his brain is not functioning at all and no sense organ is functioning. I was very sad to hear this, but a few minutes before death he seemed to regain his sense of hearing. Tapes of dohas and Dhamma discourses were being played continuously nearby. His son, Dr. Raji, said that near the end his eyes opened slightly, his lips moved a little, and he seemed to be looking at something above. Then his breathing started becoming slower, only 9 breaths in 1 minute. His respiration gradually kept slowing until he peacefully breathed his last. His face was glowing with a divine radiance. From this we may conclude that the inner consciousness had really been present all along, but he had been unable to make any physical movement, though he may have wanted to. In the end, his Dhamma strength arose, his eyes opened, and his lips moved, proof that the inner consciousness was awake. When I returned to Mumbai after a long Dhamma tour of 7 countries, I saw that among the pile of papers awaiting me was a letter he had written on August 26. In it, he described his journey to Los Angeles, gave details of future courses, and asked for metta. His Dhamma service was most effective. Many Vipassana centers were eager to have courses conducted by him. In America as well, people awaited him with great eagerness, but midway in the journey, he departed and attained a great promotion. The people were kept waiting. After reading his letter, I drew a deep sigh, and spontaneously these words came forth. The world was listening very intently, but you fell asleep while narrating this story. The world Vipassana family is increasing day by day, but my Dhamma brothers are dwindling in number. How many now who receive the teaching directly from Sayaji Ubakin? This Dhamma also carry out his mission. Let me serve the Dhamma until the final moment. I was extremely fortunate to have such a Dhamma brother. The ideal that Dr. Om Prakash set for all Vipassana meditators and teachers will serve as a beacon in the future. This inspiration will bring welfare to many, happiness to many. India will regain its ancient glory and dignity, leading to immense welfare for the entire world. Incomparable, refreshing tranquility. Once, while on a Dhamma tour of North India, I stayed at Dr. Om Prakash's residence in Delhi for 2 days. He gave us his own bedroom and slept in another room nearby. The morning after our arrival, I meditated together with him on the bed in his bedroom. Near the end of the 1-hour sitting, suddenly an incomparable nibbanic cooling tranquility emanated from him and spread throughout the room. On completion of the sitting, he said with great humility, "Meditating with you today, I have become blessed. I experience incomparable, refreshing tranquility." I replied, "You know best about your own experience, but after experiencing your nibbanic cooling tranquility, I have become truly blessed." May all beings be happy.